Hello everyone, I'm here with the Pollarded Willow fusion project that I started back in May 2015 so that's 3.5 years ago. Still got a ways to go before we get to complete fusion, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. This tree has been in the pond well, since the spring, and I wanted to get it out now before it starts losing its leaves. As you can see, they're starting to turn and drop. It's been sat in the pond, as I said, but I needed to get it out because willow leaves in particular, most leaves but particularly willow leaves, produce toxins when they rot down in water. And I have got fish in the pond, so obviously I don't want these leaves dropping into the pond. As you can see, it's put out a lot of extra root whilst it's been in the water. And it does a couple of jobs while it's in there. Obviously it gets plenty of water, and willows love the water. Also it leaches some of the nutrients out of the pond, helping to keep the water clean, which is nice. I mean, you don't have to use chemicals and things. Also, alongside this tree, I've been working on this tree for the last couple of years, so we'll look at that one as well in a minute. But back to this, I just want to do some tidying up, maybe tie in a few, loosen off, that's it, tie in a few of these branches at the top to fill in some of these gaps. The beauty about pollarded willow is in order to look realistic and like the trees I see every day, it needs to be old and gnarled and lumpy and bumpy and misshapen. Breaks most of the laws of bonsai, but yeah, I can live with that. I like the pollarded willow. So first off, I'm going to cut away all this extra roots that were growing out into the pond to try and just make it look a bit more presentable. So just working my way around. So you can see quite a thick mat of roots. I actually pulled this tree out of the pond yesterday because I wanted to give it time to drain and be a bit less claggy and clammy to work with than it was when it came out of the water. There, so that's got rid of most of the excess roots. So I'm gonna work at clearing some of this moss off, some of these roots from the top of the tree. I'm not going to repot it at this stage. I do have a larger square pond pot, the sort of pot that you would put a water plant in to go into the pond, and I will repot it into that next spring. As you can see, it's very root bound. I'd have to cut this pot off to actually get it off. But that's all I'm going to do for that for now. Most of these roots above the surface here will probably die off, but plenty underneath to keep the trees alive. So, as I say, I want to get rid of some of this moss from the trunk. And the trees are now at a point where I'm able to remove some of this wire. The trees aren't going to move apart at this stage. They're not entirely fused, although fusion has taken place in a number of instances. don't know how well you can see in there. I'll just move the camera a little closer. These two trees have quite clearly fused there. So yeah, all in all I think it's doing rather well. It has some hollows down the base of the trunk as well as near the top, but again, you know, a good old Pollarded willow often has those. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off and do a little bit more clearing up, and then we'll come back and have another look. Okay, so it's got rid of most of the moss and the weeds. As I say, a lot of this root will die back over the winter time, but it's still got plenty underneath to see it through. So I'm going to start by removing a couple of these low pieces. Yeah. No, I think I might leave those two because they have not actually fused into the bark as yet. So I might in fact just put a piece of wire around a new there. Just to keep those in place. I'm not particularly going to wire it tightly. Just finger tight. That'll help keep them in place there. Quick tip, don't leave your tools out in the rain, as I did last night. It's just took one night and they've just started to rust, so these will need a good clean and an oil when I'm finished here. Okay, so that's those two. I'm going to remove some of these pieces that are just growing at random. We'll shorten them off if I don't want to remove them. So I'm going to shorten this one, remove this one, and any of these big pieces I'm going to stick in this bucket of water for now. They'll root in a couple of weeks, and I'll have some more little willow trees to play with. I'm going to take off this piece. And this piece I'll have to retighten that wire. Now let's just grab a little piece and we'll give it a twist. There, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to take off, no, in fact I'm going to wire this back upwards. I have a very big gap underneath here. It's not been easy to get the tree to grow under there. So obviously it's sort of under that ledge, and therefore it doesn't get very much in the way of light. So yeah, just quickly going to tie that into place. You can cut me a piece of wire. Sorry, I do apologise, keep clearing my throat, but I do have a touch of a cold coming, I think. Okay, so let's just tie in that one into place for now. What I can do, the wonders of willow, it's so bendy, is bend that one into place. And again, just a little piece of wire just to hold it there. This isn't about wiring to create the fusion, this is just wiring it to the metal frame underneath. If this is the first video of these that you've seen, I will put a playlist in the description. There's about 5 or 6 videos showing the beginning of the creation of this tree up until the present. sometimes getting these little bits of wire to go in just the right place can be a tad fiddly, especially if you drop it. Let's try that again. That's it. Got it. That's better. So as you can see, that's just bent around there very nicely, and that's going to help to fill in this gap under here. And I'm just going to go round the top of the tree, moving things into position, cutting back what I don't need. So I'll continue doing that and come back to you a bit further down the line. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to do to this tree for today. I've changed my mind. As I've been working, I've been thinking, and I've tied in a lot of these shoots. In fact, I've made a considerable lump in this section. As any good long-standing pollarded willow, they will always have, you know, a good top knot, as it were. I've actually decided that I'm going to leave this tree as is for the winter. Let all these leaves push some energy back down into the tree for next spring, and then once the tree has lost its leaves, it'll actually be easier to tie in the rest of these, make it look a little bit tidier, and then I can prune it back hard in the spring. So that's all for this one. We'll move it out of the way, come back with the second tree. Okay, so this tree was in the pond for the same amount of time as the other one, and has actually grown substantially better than the other one. As you can see, as I keep panning up and up, it just keeps going up and up. It's probably 4.5 feet, 5 feet, some of these shoots. I think the reason for that is because it is in one of these proper pond pot with all the holes around the edge, which have largely allowed the tree to really get its roots out into the water in a more substantial way. So I'm going to try and clear away this mat of roots, and it really is a thick old mat of roots. As you can see, it's you know, the whole depth of the pot, rather than just out over the rim as the other tree did, and that's why I think we've got a lot better growth. So just try and cut all this away as best I can. Quite a bit of weed in places, but okay, get in there. Right. Okay, a fairly solid amount of weeds. I keep saying weeds, I mean roots. What is the matter with me? This cold's gone to my brain, I think. Okay, so that's not as tidy as it could be, but these weeds' roots will actually die off now that they're exposed to the air, and I'll be able to get rid of them a lot easier. Now you can begin to see some of the structure of the tree underneath. Just need a bit of a clean. Again, no proper fusion, or no uniform fusion, I should say. We do have fusion in places and not so much in others, but it is getting there slowly. Now, as I did with the other one, I'm not actually going to do any particular pruning on this one until the tree's lost its leaves. I'm just trying to open up these shoots and you can begin to see that this isn't a pollarded willow. I hope you can see that. Yeah, so it's more of a traditional informal upright, and the apex of which I will have to decide on when I get the pruning back all these shoots. But I'm going to leave them in place. I honestly think that's for the best that I do that. So I think the apex will probably be in here, and I may have to create a fusion apex at the top once I can see what I'm doing. So that's something we can revisit in the springtime. Again, try and show you. Kick the camera, that's a good idea. A little better. Obviously some of these may stay as branches, but a lot of these will come off, but I want the leaves to give the plant energy. So let me see if I can give you a better view of the tree as we come round. As I say, we do have some solid fusion in places and some not quite fused in others. So I think that's where I'll leave this video for today, and thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. As I said, the playlist will be in the description, and we'll look at this tree again come spring. Take care.